And coming up on Market Shares, a new future for the Shoppingtown Mall. I'll have all the details coming up.
And President Donald Trump just signed a wildly anticipated order on TikTok. What's included in this deal?
And markets closed in the green despite heading into October amid AI skepticism. Hold on to your wallets because Market Shares starts right now. Welcome into Market Shares. Well, as the Ryder Cup kicks off this afternoon, markets are trying to stay on par. I'm Ben Bassett.
And I'm Riley Underwood. Let's take a look at our market update, and good news for investors. We're all green so far as the markets close throughout the week.
Oh, that's good to see,
S&P,
Riley.
NASDAQ, Dow Jones, they're all up slightly throughout the week, but it's large in part due to those tech stocks.
Yeah, tech-heavy NASDAQ definitely up this week. Lots of talks about AI. They saw kind of a drawback, especially with Oracle this week, but overall lots and lots of growth in the AI sector, in the chip sector as well. Now, usually kind of looking ahead, people say, hey, we might have a bad October if we've had a bad September. That's not the case. We've had a good September. People are perspective going into October, especially with this interest rate cut at the Fed. We've seen a drop in job loss claims, and we've seen an uptick in GDP, so things are looking good on the market side, Riley.
Let's take a look at our first market mover. We're going with Amazon because they just had a big lawsuit from the FTC, from the government. They're going to refund millions of customers, billions of dollars, $2.5 billion they're returning to Amazon Prime customers because they say they were using tactics to make you subscribe and make it hard not to subscribe, deceptive tactics to sign customers up that were difficult to cancel. So the FTC said, no, we're protecting the consumers. You got to give some money back to them, but you're not going to get a big check. The maximum anyone can get is $51.
You're breaking my heart, Riley.
I know.
$51, that's it?
But you're eligible if you were a Prime customer from 2019 to this year, so you'll have to file a claim. You know,
I'll have to see. Yeah. I'm an avid Amazon user, so I was hoping for a little bit more there. But
51.
Hey, a check is a check is a check is a check.
That's
right?
bad.
Well, let's move on here to Micron. Lots of talks about chips in the news, especially here in Central New York with Micron. Memory and storage chips, now they've had this insane gain. This is the monthly look, 40% up since August. They're wildly dismissed as kind of this commodity chip maker when there's so much more of that, and they're kind of leading this charge with this AI center data boom. We always talk about NVIDIA. We hype up NVIDIA so much on our show. I think they're kind of the underdogs here. We don't hype up Micron enough. I mean, for NVIDIA to have all these storage chips, they need these big warehouses that are full of servers, and those servers need storage and memory, or these HBMs, which are these high bandwidth memory that Micron makes. So nothing happens without Micron, Riley. They kind of had a small falter this week, just with kind of talks about concerns with circulatory relationships in the AI industry. So kind of venture capitalists, when they're having investment in AI and chips, and that's driving media growth, and then these kind of investors are overshooting their expectations. Now they're having to meet those expectations. But in this case here, they're doing great, and they're really leading that AI surge.
How about our third market mover, Kenvue? If you've been watching the news, you know about Kenvue. They're the maker of Tylenol, and Donald Trump and RFK Jr. saying this could be a link from Tylenol to autism if taken during pregnancy. So there has been a drop-off. Investors kind of shocked. They don't know what to do. Should I sell? Should I keep? It's been a drop-off.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time investors have questioned their choices with Kenvue. I mean, the Trump study that's being cited is kind of a reinterpretation of a study that came out of Harvard and Mount Sinai University that showed some links with Tylenol and autism. That was thrown out in a litigation with Kenvue back in 2023. Now, the concern with Kenvue is that, hey, is this study, if more studies come out, more scientific information following this announcement, are there going to be more litigations? If they have to enter that litigatory period, they're going to be spending a lot of money on that. And Tylenol is only 10% of their total portfolio for Kenvue. So they're going to have to make this big decision, Riley, of do we sell off Tylenol or do we keep it? I mean, Kenvue's been on this downward spiral ever since 2023 when they separated and they bought Tylenol from Johnson & Johnson. And so now it's just up in the air. A lot of investors saying now it's the time to buy, especially if Kenvue's looking at selling off that product.
Well, and whether or not more studies come out and it is actually scientifically linked to it, it's still a bad public image. You don't want this look if you're Kenvue and you see that your Tylenol product is being slandered by the President of the United States, that's not going to bode well for you at any point. It doesn't matter.
And they're not targeting pregnant women when they say like this product is based for certain consumers. Acetaminophen is the only approved drug for pregnant women facing pain if needed. But the thing is, even if pregnant women aren't buying Tylenol, consumers are seeing, hey, is this going to have back effects on my personal health? And if they stop going and buying 10% of Kenvue's portfolio, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
And when we come back, we are going to be talking about the Shoppingtown Mall redevelopment, perhaps coming to Syracuse. You don't want to miss it.
Well, Riley, we talked about a little bit with Tylenol and litigation. And speaking of litigation, a decision by the New York's highest court might be clearing the way for redevelopment of the vacant Shoppingtown Mall. But what that redevelopment will look like remains to be seen.
Our market shares analyst Roman Verna is on the scene in DeWitt to map out the next steps in this process. What do you got, Roman? Well, we're still here, and great insight from Brian. Happening today, the New York State has begun mailing out its first ever inflation refund checks to 8.2 million New York households. The checks are supposed to return a portion of the increased sales tax revenue the state collected as inflation drove up the cost of goods. To receive a check, you must have filed a New York State resident income tax return for the 2023 year. Eligibility also depends on your specific income thresholds.
And President Trump signed an executive order yesterday allowing TikTok to keep operating in the U.S. Under the terms, which China still must approve, a new American-led group will oversee TikTok, with ByteDance retaining less than a 20% stake. Oracle, Silver Lake, and MGX Investment Fund will control a roughly 45% stake. While much is still not known about the actual deal, Trump said that Chinese leader Xi Jinping has also agreed to its terms.
YouTube TV subscribers may soon be without Sunday Night Football and The Voice, as NBC Universal and YouTube TV face a dispute that may lead to a blackout by the end of the month. In a statement, NBC Universal says that YouTube TV, quote, has refused the best rates and terms in the market, demanding preferential treatment and seeking an unfair advantage over competitors. They added, quote, the result, YouTube TV customers will lose access to NBC Universal's premium programming. YouTube TV responded saying, NBC Universal is asking us to pay more than what they charge consumers for the same content on Peacock. The company said they're working to reach a fair deal and will offer subscribers a whopping $10 credit if they cannot come to a conclusion. That's pretty interesting stuff, Kayla, the disparity between the two. But let's talk about Disney. Their price hikes seem to be an annual occurrence. Could we see next year's increase being more after losing out with the Jimmy Kimmel controversy?
Yeah, I mean,
Interesting, because we're seeing these big media companies decide to go against litigation. We saw CBS drop it with a 60 Minutes interview with Kamala Harris. They said, hey, it's cheaper for us just to do this than to go to court, spend all this money of lawyers, and fight these legal battles on the litigation side. And so people are saying it's a question of free speech, but it's also these companies have to weigh, hey, how much money are we willing to spend to keep that free speech on our networks?
Especially because, like you said, all the litigation, there could be lawsuits involved. I'm sure Kimmel's team's not happy with this. How's that happen?
Yeah, I mean...
Well, welcome back to Market Shares. The 45th Ryder Cup got underway today at Bethpage Black with its opening foursome session. Now, beyond the amount of money the players themselves are making, Long Island is expected to have an estimated $160 million economic boost this weekend, Riley.
Spending comes from ticket sales, hospitality, concessions, dining, and other entertainment. Some Long Island homeowners are even charging as much as $25,000 for just 5 nights. Fans are scrambling to get housing, hotel accommodations. On top of that, the media coverage is expected to deliver international exposure, a lot of eyes from Europe on this match that will boost tourism beyond this week.
Wow, Riley, that's a lot of money. I don't know if I'd be willing to give up my house though to host people for a tournament. But I mean, a couple grand.
You give me
right?
25,000. You can bring as many people as you want.
We saw this during the Masters too, when people were giving up their homes to host people, and they're funding vacations, they're putting into the retirement fund. I mean, I guess it's not that much to do an Airbnb, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I mean, that's.
Would you do it?
Would I do it? Sure, I'd do it.
Of course you do it, right?
Of course.
Next time a big golf tournament like the Ryder comes to Syracuse, maybe
Yeah.
we'll take a look at that. We can house people right here in studio.
Sure, they can come to the lair.
They can come to your lair. That's true. Riley, you were talking about your golf game a little bit earlier. How do you play?
Oh, it's improving. Average about 278 on 9 holes. So it's it can only go up from here.
Okay, so we're maybe not playing in the Ryder Cup, but
No.
maybe you can open up your home and make some extra cash
I
there.
make some extra cash. So what about?
But no-
I'll get out on the putt course.
I'll get on the putt course. That was our. I'd love to go next time. I'd love to do a putting tournament next time.
Where'd
I
you pull
do
that
right
from?
here. I would love to show off our swing here, but I don't want to break any of our technology here in studio.
I'm sure they wouldn't mind.
Huh?
I'm sure they wouldn't
I
mind.
don't know. I don't know if, again, even if I put my house up for rent, if a golf tournament comes through Syracuse, I don't think it's going to fund the screen behind us.
Well, 25,000. I don't know.
$25,000 is a lot of money. I don't know how I would spend it. In this economy, too, we're seeing interest rates are cut, right? So we could take out some loans, some studio expansion, add a couple cameras here, yeah?
Yeah, maybe. My dad says he was the putt champion back in the day. That's what he tells me. So maybe I got it in me.
If it runs in the bloodline,
I hit the links a little
right?
bit more, work a little harder. I don't need the house.
My dad's a golf
be in
coach.
the
He's
cup.
here in studio for Paris
I know.
weekend. So
It's great.
maybe he can give us some pointers. That's the plan. He'll give us some pointers when a tournament
should have
comes
done
to
that.
town.
We should have done that for this whole
There we go.
segment.
Bring in some extra cash. Well, that's all the time we have for you on this episode of Market Shares. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and Instagram and at CitrusTV News. Like us on Facebook. I'm Ben Bassett.
And I'm Riley Underwood. Have a great night and enjoy Family Weekend, Syracuse.